Now, a former South African military leader and politician says it may be too late for the ANC to save itself. Former General Siphiwe Nyanda, retired general rather, says a renewal in South Africa and the ANC will remain elusive as long as the ANC fails to come to terms with the fact that much of the recent violence is a result of its own doing. He served as chief of the South African National Defence Force from 1998 to 2005 and later as a minister. So tonight we're joined by retired General Siphiwe Nyanda. General, thank you for joining us. If I may first ask you, are you willing to weigh in on this issue of labelling the unrest? We saw mixed messages from government. The president saying it was an insurrection, an attempted insurrection. The military minister saying, no, it's nothing like that. Tonight they're saying that they're sticking with what the president had to say. What do you understand, and if you can let us all know what we should expect from an attempted insurrection?
Well, what I can say is that what I have said is that it's a phony uprising. It's a fake uprising. Of course, the reality of it is that there was so much devastation, and we therefore cannot overlook that so much suffering has been caused by this attempt to undermine the state. Definitely, it was an attempt to undermine the state and its institutions, and there is nothing that beats that. If people want to undermine the state, what would you call that?
Yeah,
it is a very serious offense for which there had to be reaction from the security forces. But I would like to get into so much what happens in government. What I was talking about really was what is happening within the African National Congress, and to place the African National Congress at the center of some of the problems that we see, and at the center of that attempt to undermine the state, because I think it had led what was initially a pimple grow to almost cancer, and led to this rebellion that definitely we have seen. It was a rebellion. It was something serious. Of course, we are told that there were people who have been identified or associated with it.
So General, you've written an opinion piece and you give us an analysis of ANC history to get to where we are. Are you, for the viewers, able to tell us in brief why you are laying the blame for what happened last week squarely at the door of the ANC?
Well, I'm saying so. What I've said really is nothing groundbreaking or remarkable, especially for the people who since I think around 2016, perhaps before, but mostly post-2016, have had numerous interactions with the African National Congress, whether it was veterans of the ANC, stalwarts and veterans, important leaders of the ANC who have warned the ANC, particularly after 2016 when we lost key metros in the local government elections, and when the issue of the association of the ANC, and particularly the former president, with the Gupta family came to the fore, and so these people who have been engaged with the African National Congress, trying to enjoin the ANC to relook at itself, to go back to its moral rectitude past. That it's because the ANC was founded on political morality, to go back to its ways, to its values for that time, during that time, and failing really to reach the African National Congress leadership to listen. It is a chronicle of history. It's factual things that have actually happened. Not even bitter or brutal. It could have been, because others would describe the situation in much more stronger terms. The terms that I used were really mild terms, and we've tried to admonish the ANC to mend its ways so that it gets back to what it's supposed to do, to serve the people of South Africa, to do well for the country. One does not wish for the demise or advocate for the demise of the ANC, because the ANC, one believes, carries the dreams of the South African people, the hopes of the South African. And if the ANC dies, then the path to this national democratic revolution that we want to chart itself will lies in perish.
General, how do you believe the ANC should have handled former President Jacob Zuma? Because you talk about him as a strong man, and you suggest that he was enabled. Nobody stood up even after the first Constitutional Court finding. And I mean, even as recently as the illegal gatherings outside Nkandla, ANC, NEC officials were deployed to go and seemingly implore and plead with the former president to follow the law.
Yeah, exactly. That is a continuation of how the ANC leadership and some of its leaders have deployed since that time, since 2016, in fact, since before 2016, because they let this personality, the cult of the personality grow, and they themselves were immersed, some of them, in what was going on in the looting of the state and so on. So I think what we saw is actually a result. As they say, when you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. And if we had acted at the time, perhaps it would have been contained in a way, rather than what happened now with this pseudo-insurrection that was fueled by the same people, some of whom were in existence at that time and refused to heed the call of stalwarts and veterans to have an ANC relook at itself. We called for a national consultative conference with the stalwarts and veterans, and the ANC did or was unwilling to entertain that call. And what happened was that stalwarts and veterans still had that National Consultative Conference on their own, invited the ANC or members of the ANC, leaders of the ANC, very few, if any, of which participated in that National Consultative Conference, in order to try to introspect about ourselves and what we are about, and this promise that we have for our people to liberate this country and to usher in a period of equality amongst these people, to usher in the rule of law, to consolidate the rule of law, and to try to work towards the true transformation of the South African economy.
General, what about the ANC's response to the political violence in KwaZulu-Natal? Do you think that has played a part, the context in that province? Last week, there have been people killing each other for political positions, for access to power and money. And there are WhatsApp groups going around. I'm not in a position to verify that. But do you think that card-carrying members of the ANC were linked to what happened last week?
Well, I think what we saw at Nkandla were some people dressed in fatigues, military fatigues, ostensibly MKMGA members, who have, by the way, all along been associated with a faction in the African National Congress calling itself the RET faction, and was being members even of the ANC, NEC, leaders of the ANC, very senior members of the ANC and leaders of the ANC, associating themselves with what was going on there, which, to my view, or how I saw this thing, I saw this thing was going to develop into actually what happened in the end. Because what these people were trying to say was that we should negotiate our constitutional democracy they negotiate away our rule of law, and they were making demands which were actually not correct. I mean, that's why I had a problem with people who were saying that we could talk to these people, because I didn't understand that their demands to be something that you could engage on. Because how do you engage with people who are demanding that you do wrong things as the state, and are actually challenging the state?
General, we're running out of time. I want to ask you, do you really believe it could be too late for the ANC? And I mean, who else will South Africans vote for? We've seen this very sticky loyalty to the party. You also say that the RET forces are still in ANC leadership. But has that not been broken with the suspension of Ace Magashule and other things like that, perhaps?
Well, let me say that I fear for the ANC, but let me say that I have hope for the ANC. I will not wish for, in fact, I pray for the ANC to do what is right, to get to its members so that we really introspect and try to get the ANC back to its former values, and try to deal with the things that are happening in the ANC and discuss them and try to attend to the problems, that the challenges that the ANC is facing at the current moment, both at the leadership level and also at the membership level, the quality of the members of the African National Congress.
All right, thank you very much for your time tonight. Former head of the SANDF, retired General Siphiwe Nyanda.